Every Torah is a life, and every life is unique. But some lives stand out before us and leave more of an impression. To be in the presence of a wounded but living survivor, where there were no other survivors, is a tremendously moving experience.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon.
With the start of the Nazi occupation of Poland, many Jews in Ostrog fled their homes. German soldiers set fire to the synagogue where the Jews who hadn't already fled the city were gathered. They were forced to a wooded area on the outskirts of town, where they were gunned down, their bodies dumped into a mass grave. 9,000 in all.
My great-grandfather, Moshe Zokenmacher, was a leader in the community. He perished at the hands of the Nazis on the steps of the synagogue.
It was the Torah, the only survivor from Ostrog, that truly saved the town's memory.
When I discovered the Torah, it had burn marks on it. There was blood on it. It had mildewed. It was clearly in need of repair, but it had survived.
From here, the first of 10. In a case like this, I feel there are many others present. I feel the victims with me every time I'm in the scrolls. They're watching. They're whispering.
In restoring a letter, you give birth to a name. You give birth to a life. So in a sense, the Ostrog community is beginning to live again through the restoration of their sacred Torah.
ברוך אתה ה' אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו וציוונו להתעטף בציצית. My name is Neil Yerman. I'm a Sofer, which is a Hebrew word for scribe. I actually have been doing restoration work for the better part of the past 27 years, and I don't look at this as a job. When I'm restoring a Torah, I guess I'm not just restoring a Torah. This is putting this back together. It represents a move toward wholeness. Being actually in the scroll, which was in the place where it happened, brings feelings. It says it, you shall love with all your heart. If one loves with all their heart, then how can one not feel the pain? How can one not feel the tragedy? Out of the over 48 million people who died in World War II, 6 million of one people, that fraction. There were hundreds of towns where thousands were lined up and shot or killed or transported to ovens. And before beginning this work, I wrote the name Amalek, which is a name that symbolizes evil intention on the part of any individual or group, anyone that has the intention to destroy life. We put that aside. We blot it out from our memory so that we can be joyous in the idea of making wholeness. But making wholeness out of such sadness is so challenging. Anochi, I am. Anochi, Aleph, the first letter, the primeval force. Aleph, standing for Elohim. And when new pieces are sewn into pieces that were destroyed, the new words are recognized because they will be the faces that look just like the faces of the people who used to live there, because they are the great-great-great-grandchildren. The new letters are the ones who will bring goodness from new understanding. And that the crusty old letters that were thought to be dead will, in a sense, rise as spirits rising from graves which cannot contain souls. And bringing them here, remembering that these are people who studied these words. These words were written by someone with a feather or a reed over 200 years ago in a totally different part of the world. And the people who cherish this scroll, most of their names and most of their faces have been forgotten. I think in order to clean this, I'm going to take a sand-impregnated eraser and take off all the crusty ink. And, oof. I really have to catch my breath. After a day of restoration, especially when you're working on a Holocaust scroll, there's exhaustion. The fatigue really is reliving the joy of their lives and the pain of separation. To try to maintain joy and connection, and actually having that wonderful connection ultimately will mean that one has to relive that which is shattering and then help to put it back together.